guys, how are you all doing? It's Agara CC and I'm back again today with another interesting video. I trust you guys are having a wonderful, amazing and beautiful time today. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. So I just want us to see this video today. Trust me, this video is an interesting one. As a matter of fact, it is a conversation that a lot of people are not ready to have. Now, before I go into today's video, I just want to say thank you to you guys for subscribing to this channel, watching my last video, and liking, commenting, sharing. I am truly grateful. Please stay with me because I've got loads of interesting videos and topics coming your way. Trust me, you are gonna like them. So this man right here is saying in this video that if you are really poor, do not have kids. And then he proceeds to say that if you already have a child or you've got kids already and you are struggling to put food on the table, you shouldn't be allowed to have another child. And of course, the video didn't sit well with a lot of people, even though some people agreed with him. Like I saw loads of stitches and I read some comments, which I'm gonna show you. Like, what do you guys think? If you don't have, like, if you are poor, okay, you can barely feed, why should you bring in another human being into this world? Now, this is what we are going to look into today. We are going to talk about that in the comment section. Please, like I said, this video is really interesting and I would love to know your take because people are literally reacting to this video. Please check it out.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be having kids. Like, if you have a kid and you're struggling to put food on the table and you want to have another kid, you shouldn't be allowed. Now, it's just what I believe. You don't have to agree with it, but I've just seen so many people and so many kids with working in the school system, because that's one of my jobs, right? And that they just have awful lives and they hate it because they can't, like, they're hungry and things like that. And so I firmly believe that if you're really poor, you should not be having children because it's not just affecting you, you're affecting another living being.
Now, but can we please talk about this today? Because like I said, this is a conversation a lot of people are not ready to talk about. Now, people give different reasons, different opinion. Like I was reading comments and some people were like, this is eugenics. And also some people went on to say that people should be allowed to have kids even if they are poor. Literally, they like kids and they want to have their own kids and you are telling them not to have a child simply because they are poor. But then let's just look at it this way. Now imagine you could barely feed yourself. You are struggling to pay your rent, your bills, and you are thinking of having a child. Like, have a second thought. I mean, how would the child survive in such situation? So I have a couple of stitches I'm going to show you. I'm going to make this video a part 2 because we just really need to have this conversation. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a few stitches I have put together, and of course I'm going to show you some screenshots of comments so you guys can see what other people that couldn't record themselves giving their opinion, what they said in the comment section. Please check the stitches out.
But I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be having kids.
I'm 25 years old and I'm always constantly getting asked, when are you having kids? Baby, kids? In this economy? Do you know how selfish it is to have children when you don't even have your life together? When you don't know if you'll be able to pay rent for next month? When you are not sure where your next meal is coming from? When you have to choose between the light bill or the water bill for the month? I'm currently working on myself and my financial security, so when the day comes that I do have children, they don't have to struggle. They don't have to go hungry. They don't have to live in a house where the lights are getting cut off. They don't have to go to bed cold. They can go to the best schools, wear the best clothes, eat the best meals, take the best vacations. I am not bringing children into this world to struggle. I will use any method of protection and birth control that is available to me because I am not financially ready to have a child yet. Yes, I am mentally ready to have a child. And yeah, of course, I want children. I'm 25, I'm almost 26. I am ready to have a kid. But let's be honest, I'm poor and you cannot have a child being poor. I don't want to bring a child into this world and live in this neighborhood that I live in, where people rob and steal and shoot each other and kill each other. Say what you want, but my children will have a silver spoon. My children will have everything handed to them. My children will have access to anything they want. My children won't have to struggle. And if you know you're poor and you bring children into this world, you're selfish. There are condoms, there are pills, there are shots, there are all types of shit that you can do to prevent getting pregnant. And you still choose to get pregnant, you're selfish. I don't care.
But I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be having kids.
I remember this was a topic on Twitter a while ago, and a lot of people were upset by it and saying this is eugenics, people should still be able to have kids even if they're dirt poor. And no, they shouldn't, because children are not dolls. Children are not toys. You don't just get one just because you want one. If you don't have the means to take care of a child, why are you having kids? Literally, it's not even eugenics, it's just common fucking sense. Being a parent comes with requirements, and one of those requirements is being financially stable. You don't have to be a millionaire, but you should have enough money to feed your child every single day and clothe them and not have them living a life of struggle. I don't think that's asking for a lot. And let's put the money aside real quick. I still feel like a lot of y'all should not be having kids because you are incompetent. A lot of y'all are emotionally inept. You can't even regulate your own emotion. You result to beating a child when they make mistakes, and you spiral over the smallest things. You don't have what it takes. You don't have the patience, the skill that it takes to be a parent. And a lot of y'all just are not self-aware of that. You think the only reason you need to have a child is simply because you want one. You're not willing to do anything else it takes to prepare you for that child, emotionally, financially, physically. You're not willing to do anything else. Having a child is inherently selfish, so I feel like being financially stable is the bare minimum thing that you can do to ensure that this child has a decent life. Why is this even controversial? And the last thing I want to mention is children who grew up in poverty will tell y'all that you should wait until you're financially stable to have kids, but y'all don't want to listen. You just want to have a little doll that you can play dress up with.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be.
As an adult who grew up in poverty, I absolutely agree. 100% you should wait until you're financially stable to have children. With that being said, I think something that's getting lost in this conversation is the fact that people that are living in poverty don't have the same access to a lot of tools and resources that make it possible to make an educated decision about having a child or not having a child and what to do if you're pregnant. A lot of communities where unwanted pregnancies, unplanned pregnancies come from are communities that lack a lot of access to resources such as comprehensive sex education, contraception, such as birth control, condoms, etc. And obviously, state by state, we're seeing abortion laws being completely rolled back, Roe v. Wade being taken down. So even when a person gets pregnant and doesn't want to be pregnant and is self-aware to realize I shouldn't be having a baby right now, the access to have an abortion is so low in the communities that need it so badly. I'm just thinking about my own experience, and I know for a fact that, a lot of people are forced to, carry a pregnancy to term and raise that child when maybe they wouldn't have if they had the education and access to make a different decision. Now, that doesn't mean that the parent doesn't love their child, but it does mean that the parent probably doesn't have the resources to care for that child. We studied this. I studied something when I was in high school, and I've looked at it in the past, but Freakonomics shows that, when abortion was legalized, when Roe v. Wade was originally passed and states started making it possible for pregnant people to get abortions, 20 years later, crime rates actually dropped because the children, unwanted children that would have been there, didn't exist. And obviously we know that poor upbringing leads to crime. So crime actually dropped. My point in saying that is that if we want parents to be able to provide for their children and create, environments in which future members of society are productive and good, then it's not enough just to be like, poor people stop having children. We need to give everyone the access to the education. We need to make comprehensive sex education a requirement in schools and give access to birth control, condoms, access to abortion. Of course, there is a percentage or a small portion of this, general group of people that's being discussed that maybe have all that information and are aware that they shouldn't be having a child and can't afford a child and do it anyways. And to those people, I say, you fucking suck. I'm more so talking about the groups of people that don't have access to that education, aren't aware of what's needed to carry a child to term and then raise that child, or don't have the knowledge or the understanding or the resources to make a conscious decision to not carry a child to term. There's still a lot of people out here who are just like, oh, well, I'm pregnant, I just have to have the baby. Like, they aren't even aware that there's other options. And that's what I'm talking about. That's a problem because we don't make sex education a priority in this country, which is fucking baffling. And then you end up with, fucking children who can't eat, who grow up to fucking hate their lives, hate their parents, and are fucking poor functioning members of society. Just to give a little context from a child who grew up in extreme poverty, imagine having to pretend that you're not hungry because you have siblings and you want to see them eat. Imagine having to make sure that you get to school on time so that you can get free breakfast. Imagine being embarrassed that you don't have to pay for lunch or milk and actually wanting to have to pay because that's what everybody else does. Imagine getting made fun of because you only have 2 or 3 outfits and you have to wear the same clothes every single week, and having mean ass middle schoolers come up to you and be like, damn, you don't have any other clothes? Like, no, I don't. Imagine having to have 2 different bus routes because your parents are divorced and having to keep track of that schedule and which bus am I going to take, and do I have clothes? I got to bring those in a grocery bag and take it on the bus with me when I go over to my other parents' house, blah, 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 blah. When I was, I think I was probably like in 6th grade, maybe I was like 12, I applied for my family to be on Extreme Makeover Home Edition. And I think I also emailed Oprah or something and was like, please help us. So, yeah.
Okay, I just want to say this, okay? If you are planning to bring a child into this world, please do your checks very well. Make a plan. Don't just bring a child into this world because you love babies. I understand what the people that staged this video, what they are saying. Now, I'm not saying you should not have your child, no. But as a parent, how would you feel looking at your child go hungry, knowing the fact that you don't have any money in your bank, you don't have any money at home, and you are looking at that child literally crying because there's no food, the house is cold. You just need to be financially stable before you could bring another human being into this world. But again, life happens. Like, circumstances do change, okay? You would see a rich man today with 2 or 3 kids. Of course, he is rich, he is financially stable. But then tomorrow, he is poor. Like, everything just crashed, and this man is literally like suffering. He could barely feed his family. But this man was once a rich man. So life happens. We can't predict. But then, I don't know. This is, anyways, let's just see a few stitches, please.
I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be having kids. Like if you
I'm not afraid to take. Come on, everybody, start to take a stand. You are not the first person to make this pathetically shallow analysis of the issue and then offer as a solution eugenics. Yes, because forcing anyone, regardless of their socioeconomic status, to not have kids is in fact eugenics, which you'd know if you had any sort of historical context on the topic that you're speaking so confidently about. This is not simply or even mostly the product of poor individual decision making. It is the product of a host of systemic issues. And most of these systemic issues have solutions. We have decades of data. We know how to deal with the issues that affect impoverished people. But unfortunately, that's not good for business. Not to mention the religious zealots fighting tooth and nail to keep sex education out of public schools.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I believe that if you are really poor, you should not.
I think this is such a wild argument to still be having in 2023. As if being poor is a conscious, willful decision that someone decides. Poverty is not an individual choice. It is a systematic issue. I thought we knew that by now, right? Are we still blaming people on their individual choices that contribute to poverty? That doesn't make sense still. Capitalism literally creates poverty. And we live in a capitalistic society. So whenever individuals start to go into this argument of who should have kids, there is no way that you're not telling me there is no hierarchical approach to that. You're literally telling who shouldn't have kids. And I get it. Maybe there may be the environments that may not be the best per se to bring in a child, but just to simply tell someone not to have a kid based off their financial resources is probably one of the most privileged takes to have, for real. And this is coming for somebody who was raised in like pretty hardcore poverty, like heating the house with the oven poverty, right? Having to wash clothes in a bathtub level. And a big part of reproductive rights we be forgetting is also ensuring that kids do not have to raise in poverty. That is a part of reproductive rights as well. Y'all know that too. Hell, and I wouldn't even be right here technically if it was for that mindset, if no one should be having kids. How many of y'all would be here right now with that mindset, right? How many of y'all would have maybe been born in poverty and have eventually, with enough access and privilege, worked your way out of poverty? There is no way to put this. This is a hierarchical privilege take, and looking down on people and saying otherwise, that people shouldn't have kids, that will always lead you into a very slippery slope of moral superiority.
That if you are really poor, you should not be having kids.
Yeah, I believe in this wholeheartedly. Where are my sources to back up this belief? Well, my sources are that I was the poverty kid. And let me tell you, these parents don't really care about their kids. You know, not all parents are like that. They love their kids, otherwise they wouldn't be having them. If you love your kids, you would not let them starve. If you loved your kids, you wouldn't find the shittiest rat hole places to make them stay in, where they have to deal with, you know, the plumbing not working or holes in the walls. If you loved your kids, you would not put them in a situation where you all have to share a bedroom together. If you loved your kids, you would not send them to school where their clothes are falling apart. If you loved your kids shouldn't have to feel like they have to go to school in order to be able to eat. And this last one is especially true. If you're poor and you are planning on having kids, make sure that that is your soulmate. Make sure you two don't plan on separating for the rest of your fucking lives. Because my parents got divorced. Both of my parents were high school and middle school dropouts. My mom bounced from job to job, and sometimes those were night jobs, and sometimes someone couldn't watch us, so guess who got to spend the night at the gas station? I remember whenever I used to have to spend nights at a nursing home, and to this day, I still can't stand the smell of nursing homes. I hate Christmas now because I used to tell my mom, don't worry about it, we'll do Christmas next year. Because she was too broke to buy presents for us for Christmas. That was when I was 12 and 13, and we just never did Christmas again after that. Do you know what it's like to tell your teachers that you won't be doing Christmas this year, and they feel so bad for you that they get you a present just because they feel like, you know, your situation is so heartbreaking that they have to intervene? Because that has happened to me. I told my teachers, yeah, I'm not doing Christmas this year because my mom can't afford it. And then they got me presents. And yes, while that is heartwarming and that is very nice of them to do so, the fact that they felt the need to do that in the first place is in itself heartbreaking. I have had adults who have seen me, seen my clothes, and then taking me clothes shopping just because they felt sorry for me. Whenever I was in middle school, my mom worked a night job at a gas station, which meant that I had to cook for me and my brother. I didn't know how to cook. And the place that we were living in was so roach infested that if we, fired up the stove, roaches would gather around the top of the ceiling and then fall into whatever we were cooking unless we put a plate over it. So a lot of the times, if I wanted to eat, I had to pick bugs out of my food. And my mom would go to the cheapest, shittiest stores where she would find the cheapest, shittiest foods. And then she would just expect me to, cook them or heat them up. But I didn't know how to. So there were many nights where I would just go hungry, hoping that she would bring home some food from the gas station that was, left over and they didn't want to, throw out. And to this day, I could go a full day without eating and be okay. As a child of poverty, let me be a cautionary tale that if you decide to have kids while you are dirt poor, you are going to ruin that kid's life. Because that kid will not have much of a life until they grow up and are able to make money for themselves. Everything that I have now, I bought myself. And I am only happy now because I am not living with my parents. So unless you want to sentence your child for a life of misery living with you, only to be happy later on in life, don't have kids while you're dirt poor.
But I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be having kids. If you have
I made a video about this last year and it was my first viral video. I focused on the point that back in the days, poor people tend to have a lot of kids versus rich people. And I was explaining how my history teacher told me there was a variety of reasons for that. But one of the most important one was the lack of education and the lack of knowledge and preparation for children. And so I was reiterating that now, today in 2023, 2022, we have more than enough resources, and I mean education. We have more than enough understanding to know the needs of a child, to know what a child will take, or at least what it would take to raise a child, especially with inflation. And most of us, even if we're making more money than we ever had in our lives, we're still living paycheck by paycheck. And majority of people resonated with my idea, but then there was another cluster of people that were crazy. I had comments telling me, oh, you wouldn't know because you're not a mom. Love is what's required to raise a child. Ma'am, love is not going to feed your child. Love is not going to pay for your child's schooling. They were like, oh, you don't get it. You'll never be ready for a child. Perhaps not mentally and emotionally, but financially I should be. And it's such a selfish act for people to have a child knowing that they cannot take care of said kid. Children should not know what it feels to have no roof over their head, what it feels like to be sick with no treatment, what it feels like to be hungry with no food. And it's not a perfect world. Obviously, we have different circumstances that could lead to somebody being pregnant and having the child. But I'm saying if we have control over the situation, if you're not financially ready and committed to have a child, you should not have one. This is a person. You're playing with somebody's life.
Okay, let's just take a look at some comments. Let's just see what people said in the comment section. Now, I randomly took some screenshots of comments because the guy obviously got a lot of backlash. He had to take the video down for some reason, but I'm thinking, people came for him. I don't know, but he took the video down. I'm gonna show you guys random comments, so you all can see, what other people said. Now, beside me are some of these comments. Please pause to read if you want to. Now, as an adult, I am not in the position to tell you what to do when you want to do it. But then I think it is best to wait to be financially stable before you could start, making babies, or before you could start, having babies, the number of babies you want to have. So just be financially stable so you don't go through, this terrible situation where you would be looking at your child literally crying because your child is hungry. As a parent, or as parents, it's gonna break you. I don't know, but for me, it's gonna break me down. But I can guarantee you today that there are people out there who were rich, like financially stable some years ago, and today they are poor. Like everything just crashed. Life happens, like I said, circumstances do change. I don't know, but I thought I should bring this video here. Let's just have this conversation today. Let me know your take in the comment section. What do you think? Because some people, some comment sections, I was reading comments, and some people were like, "Oh, all these people supporting this guy, they don't like it, basically." But let's just, let's just let's just look into it. Think about it this way, and then think about it the other way. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments again, and thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and subscribe, and of course come back for another interesting and juicy videos. I'm gonna see you all in my next one. Remember, part 2 is coming. Take care. Bye.